Let's say you've gone through everything. You're like, hey, I have a chance of doing it, of winning. When I say doing it, I want to go forward with it. I want to bid on this. I'm ready to do this. You've accepted all the requirements. You're able to meet all these requirements. You have your proposal matrix and you're ready to run with it. So when it comes to what you put in a proposal, I'm going to go over the bare bone basics. First and foremost, you want a cover page. Your cover page, it does not have to be like award-winning graphic design of the year. It could be just a Word document. I mean, I'm being serious. What's nice to have at a minimum of your cover page, your name, your company's name, your cage code, your UEI. I like to throw their logo on the front, like on the right corner. I'll put their logo up. I'm not sure if this is reversed or not, but I promise you, this is my right side. Your phone number and email, maybe my website. If you don't have a website, you don't put it. And my logo and some kind of picture, very basic, because I want to make things easy for them, especially if it's a low risk item, because they just want 10 of these. They're just looking for the best price. So the next page, this varies, okay? If it's super low risk and they've made it really clear, all they want is a price quote, guess what you give them? A price quote. You never give them more than what they asked for. And I get it. You know, I was the person, Miss Extra Credit. Like, can I get extra credit? Can I do this? Can I turn this in? And when I was a teacher, there was a time in my life where I taught at a variety of different colleges. There was always those students like, okay, what can I do to get extra credit? I'm like, but you already have an A. Like, what? The same thing goes for the federal government. If they didn't ask you about your team, you need to tell them about your team. If they didn't ask you who you've worked with in the past, you don't have to tell them. If they didn't ask you for a resume and a bio and a video, don't give them this stuff, y'all. Don't do it. You don't want to lose it. By giving so much information, it can be overwhelming. It can count you out. It's way too much because it doesn't match what they're looking for. Remember, they're giving you the rubric. With low level, it tends to be price. With mid level, they're going to tell you. And with high level, they're definitely going to tell you. And you may have to do things in person. If it's just a price quote, you just give them a price quote and you give it to them how they asked you for it. So if they're saying we want 10 trees trimmed, you tell them, here's the price quote for 10 trees. If you're using another party to do the tree trimming, you can put their quote on there. That's fine. You give it to them based on how they ask for it. You don't have to go in and give them a ton of details because again, it's too much. Also, when it comes to pricing, if it's lowest cost technically acceptable, which often low level things are and some medium level, if it's lowest cost technically acceptable, or if they say we will rank order the proposals from lowest to high, that's code for we're going with the cheapest. And my amazing GOVCON winners, this is something you really have to accept, because does that mean you won't make a profit? That doesn't mean that at all. So if they say anything under the requirements about lowest cost, y'all, is lowest cost. There's ways you can figure it out. And this goes for pretty much everything out there. You can ask. And I always suggest you ask this. You can call, you can email. It's better if you call because then they get to know you. You can ask, is there an incumbent? Was there an incumbent? What's the contract number? What's their name? How much do they invoice you every month? So for a religious position, I knew the incumbent. I saw how much money the person had received in the past. And I say person because I'm pretty sure the person who won it was the person doing the work. It was lowest cost technically acceptable. I underbid it by $10,000. I did because I knew that based on what this labor category tends to go for, I'm like, no one's going to go that low. And we won. Are we still making a profit? Yes, we're making 20%. So when it comes to your pricing, especially if you don't have a lot of overhead, you have to think about, do you want to win? Number one. You also have to think about how can you best make sure you get a profit, right? I mean, maybe somebody on here is, I don't want to assume, but I think we're all entrepreneurs. I don't think anyone on here has registered or is looking to register in SAM a nonprofit. So you got to make a profit. There's nothing wrong with making money, making a profit. It's important to have an idea of what they've paid in the past, because then that helps you understand the direction, right? The more you know, the more information you get, it helps you, it empowers you, it increases your likelihood of winning. Because this is not just an exercise. We're talking about positioning you so you have the life, you control your schedule, you can work wherever you want, you can live however you want, and you are having the most amazing client, and that is the federal government, because they always pay, okay? So you have the cover page, and if they just ask for pricing, you give them pricing, call it a day. If it's something where, let's say, they're asking you for a technical response, okay? So typically at the low level ones, they just are looking for price. Sometimes they'll give you like a price schedule in a PDF or a Word document. There's tons of resources out there. If you don't have Adobe Pro where you can manipulate it and send it, it's low level. Then you have kind of mid-level where they may start to ask you for what's called volumes. And they'll be very specific. And also, please keep in mind that what I'm sharing applies to all of these industries. So then if it comes to volumes, and if it says we want 3 volumes, we want a technical response, we want pricing, and then maybe they want what sometimes they'll call a business volume, then what that means is you're giving them 3 different PDFs, okay? So anytime you're giving them text, right, where you're typing something out, you want it to be, you want to save it as a PDF, because anytime you use a Word document, it goes all over the place. When it comes to pricing, I personally like to use an Excel sheet because I like them to be able to see any kind of calculations when we're talking mid-high level. That's just me. I like to be able to do that. I don't save it as a PDF. I just send it as an Excel. When it comes to the technical volume in the actual document, this is really important, you guys, okay? Especially for mid and high level. They will tell you, they'll say basis of award or evaluation criteria. They may say technical volume, and then they'll outline. Maybe they say management approach, staffing approach, resumes, something to that extent, right? So then in the actual technical volume, that's how you structure your document. So what you end up doing is you create an outline in each of these volumes, more so in the technical and the business than in an Excel sheet with pricing, but I promise you it makes sense. So in that actual PDF, when it comes to the technical, if they say technical management approach, then what you do is you have your cover page, you have a table of contents, you have about us, next section, management approach. And this is where you bring in content from a proposal template. This is where someone with background can help you write the proposal. Because if you're bidding on something where they've said, I just want the price for 20 mice, do you really need to pay somebody $5,000 to write a proposal? No, you don't. And especially if you haven't even decided if you're going to bid on it or if you can win. So you have management approach, and then you go in and you talk about the management approach. You talk about how you manage things. If you're like, I don't know what that means, that's fine. I didn't know what that meant either. Thankfully, some people had shared management approaches with me. Now we have our own based on how we manage. You talk about your management approach. And then if the next item under evaluation criteria, technical approach, let's say the next item is staffing approach. Now you talk about, here is how we staff. You got to break it down. You can't just say like, oh, we post some ads online and we interview people. And this is where you pull from school. You know, remember, like sometimes teachers would say like, you show, not tell. This is a combination of both. You got to show and you got to tell them. You got to break it down. You got to give them examples, because this is where they're trying to understand, can we really trust them to do this? Because it's mid to high level. If they're looking for someone to work with them for 5 years on some IT efforts, they want to make sure you know what you're talking about and you're going to be able to give them the staff that they're looking for. Because unfortunately, they've made decisions where they've brought people on, and guess what? It didn't work out well, y'all. That's how I got my first sole source, the 8A firm. Well, they were let go after the first year of their multi-year contract due to performance. So next is you continue setting that document up to align with the evaluation criteria. So if under management approach, technical approach, you have management, hypothetically. Let's say you have staffing. Let's say the next one is resumes. Then what I typically will say is I'll write a little paragraph like, we have this amazing team. We've won all these awards. words. Copies of the resumes are located under, Appendix A, or the resumes are attached and the resumes are for these people. Sometimes I may create a chart and I list their names and pull out some key criteria. I'm following along with what they've told me. I'm not giving them any more. I'm not giving them any less. I'm giving them what they've asked for, because following instructions is important. If someone can't follow the instructions with a mid or high level opportunity, then are they going to really want to award it to you? You got to put yourself in their position. Would you? You wouldn't. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's a learning, y'all. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because I want y'all to learn from the mistakes I've made, because you don't want to put in 10 years to get to that point.